Leafs Nation, what's going on? A little technical difficulties to kick off the first live stream of the year right here on Offside Hockey Talk. What's going on? It's a Leafs Weekender with your guy James from Offside. And let's get right into it, ladies and gentlemen. The past couple of games for the Toronto Maple Leafs, as you see on the board, complacency may be setting in. This team, first in the Atlantic, was tied for first in the Eastern Conference. Now 2 games, and we're wondering where the effort level went. You look at the game against the Carolina Hurricanes, and I say, well, this team was up 2-0, looked great, breakaway chances, multiple chances to extend the lead, do different things in that game, and then all of a sudden looks like they took their foot off the gas. Just like that, Carolina ties the game up, and they never get the momentum back. They do tie at 3-3 with a great effort from Austin Matthews. But besides that, they get run out of the building and they don't look like the same team that started that game. So to me, it looks like complacency setting in there, thinking you have the lead, you have a team basically by the balls, and you're going to win that one. They end up losing that game. And then we go to Saturday night. We look at a team like Vancouver coming in with the travel difficulties, the losses, all the turmoil around that squad, and the Maple Leafs cannot pull themselves into a victory there. Can't even get themselves into the game. It's absolutely ridiculous for that Vancouver game to go the way that it did. And you look at that game and you're wondering, hey, what did this team do in that game to even give us a little morsel of, hey, maybe this was that or maybe that was this? Nothing. There was no energy. There was no spark. Sans Nick Robertson and maybe Bobby McMahon, in my opinion, but there was no big hit from Pacioretty to set the tone, maybe get the momentum going. There was no big plays by the big players to leave the fans in the stands oohing and ahhing and wanting more and getting the energy level up. It was listless hockey, and Berube ripped the team earlier that day in the morning at the morning skate, trying to get the effort level up, trying to get these guys pumped up and ready for that game against Vancouver. And lo and behold, they come out with that effort. They hang Hill to be out to dry. Now, would you like that first one back? Most likely. But I look at the team and say, where was the effort there? I will say, like I said, Nick Robertson to me was a player that brought it that game, was there, was doing everything he possibly could to be noticed in a positive light by the coaching staff. He was battling hard for the puck, battling along the boards, getting shots, trying to generate chances. I like that out of Nick Robertson. And if he wants to be a regular with this lineup, that level of competitiveness, that level of play will get you into the lineup as a Toronto Maple Leaf. But other guys on that squad on Saturday night, I'm wondering where you are. What's going on? There was a couple of opportunities, sure. But to sit there and say, well, we just let them capitalize on their chances. I liked our game. Hey, Mitch Marner, that ain't it, bud. That game was not it. I look at what Chris Tanev said with the effort level. We didn't match theirs. We needed more. I like what Chris Tanev said. Why do I like it so much? Chris Tanev is a guy that has gone on deep runs with teams. He's gone on 17 and 19 playoff runs with teams, knows what it takes to win, knows what little things matter in and out of games, and knows what it takes to get to that next step, heck, even the next rounds where the Maple Leafs have not been. So for him to come out and say that, it means something. It carries weight. Same thing with Berube. He won the cup. He knows what it takes. He knows what little habits you have to weed out. He knows what you need to fix. So these things cannot continue to happen if you want to be the caliber of team that you think you are. To go back to the complacency thing, this squad, first in the Atlantic, close to first in the Eastern Conference, you will not stay there. You will not have long-term success if the past 2 games are indicative of how this team wants to play going forward. The effort level has to be higher. The compete level has to be higher. And this team really needs to come together more as a cohesive unit other than little fractured factions in the dressing room. And I'm saying this because if Tanev's coming out and saying, hey, The game wasn't good. We didn't bring our effort. We didn't match them for a full 60. We didn't match them 5-on-5. And the Mariners saying, well, no, it was okay. Our game was good. We had our chances. We had our opportunities. Just they capitalized on theirs. It does not bode well for this squad because then you have Austin Matthews, who's the captain, kind of shooting it down the middle. If I'm Austin Matthews, I'm siding with a guy like Chris Tanev, and I'm siding with a guy like Craig Berube. Especially post-game, the effort wasn't there. It was easy to see. The fans knew it. The players should know it. Obviously, Vancouver knew it. They ran them out of the building. There was no effort from the Maple Leafs on Saturday night. And, it's very easy to sit here and nitpick, 2 games. Well, this team just was on a 5-game winning streak. But also in those games, there were teams coming back. They were giving up the goals first. You really have to put it all together consistently, especially if you want to be seriously considered one of the contenders for the Stanley Cup this year, which I do think the Maple Leafs have the recipe to do so. They may need a couple more pieces up front, maybe even one on the back end, but every team does that on the playoff run. They go pick up at the deadline. To talk about the lineup, though, for me going into Dallas, I wonder if Austin Matthews will play. I say this because Saturday night, he didn't look like Austin Matthews to me. He didn't look like he was the past few games before Saturday night. He didn't drive the play. He wasn't going and getting the puck. There was also a situation along the boards where he got tangled up and taken down, and he did not look very happy about it. Not as mad as the Buffalo game where he got cross-checked, but this was one where he just kind of got up and just had that face about him like it bothered him. And then, of course, the rest of the game we know we didn't score, not many opportunities. So I'm wondering if we see Austin Matthews versus Dallas. Pardon me, battling a little throat thing, I guess, all of a sudden. But then I look at this and I say, okay, you look at the lineup. Austin Matthews, Mitch Marner, for me, you split them up. You put each on a separate line, allow them to drive their own play. You put Mitch back with JT, get him going, get JT rolling. You put Willie up with Matthews and Nyes, get that line back going, and figure out what you can do down for the third line. Maybe you got Domi, McMahon, and Robertson. Obviously, we like what Lorentz is bringing on that fourth line. David Kampf, to me, no longer a player that I really enjoy watching in this lineup. I think we can definitely find something to augment him and have something different in the lineup. But definitely, for me, breaking up the line of Matthews and Marner right now, I would say it's great to do. Why? Because then you spread out your offense. And also right now, those two guys, as much as they love playing together and as much as they can generate great offense together, they can be a nuclear weapon option when you need to use it. But right now, I think spreading it out and breaking them up may drive their play a little bit better, especially when you're looking at the squad and what they can do with other players added to their lines and try to get guys going like a John Tavares, like a William Nylander, who was a little snake bitten until the third breakaway against Carolina, but nobody was going Saturday night. So for me, you got to change it up. You got to shake it up a little bit, get it rocking and get it rolling. Next thing for me that's been on my I don't like it bucket list, and it's been this way all year. If you listen back in October, I said the same thing about the power play, the same thing about Savard. I don't think he's the right guy to drive this unit. And a lot of people saying, hey, this big core has been through a bunch of power play coaches. Maybe it's on them to start figuring it out. I agree to an extent. There has to be a little bit of onus on the power play coach who's drawing it up for these guys. But for me as well, what I would say to do is to remove a guy, whether it's John Tavares or William Nylander. Hey, we're not in the feelings business. We're in the scoring goals and winning games business and getting the power play going. So for me, if you have to remove a John Tavares or a William Nylander, sorry if he hurts your feelings. Sorry if you feel your $11 million entitles you to be on a power play that's not scoring. But I want Matthew Nyes net front presence. I want that big Gronk in front of the net, just making it hard on goalies to see, pushing things around, and start filtering pucks to the net and look to bang in a couple rebounds and score a couple goals. Heck, maybe if you split up the units and spread out your talent, you leave teams guessing. And then when you need again that option of a nuclear bomb, you put them all back together and you have that big power play when you need a goal, when it hasn't been that look for a while. And maybe that's what you get going. But for me, Nyes needs to be on that first unit. I don't care who you move off of it. Like I said, we're not in the feelings business. We're in the scoring goals, getting the power play going, and winning games business. So if someone's heard about it, put them on the bench, put them in the box. I really don't care. But the goals have to start coming for this power play. There is too much talent and too much guys who can put the puck in the net for it not to be better, way better than it is. Again, if you want to be considered a serious Stanley Cup contender to go deep in the playoffs at least, that power play needs to be a lot better. Look at the penalty kill under Lane Lambert. He's up on the bench. He's pumping the boards. He's yelling at the boys. He's getting everything going. I want to see some excitement, some drive out of Savard as well, shouting, getting things going, getting guys where they need to be or whatever. Right now, passing it around the perimeter and filtering a point shot every once again. Teams are planning for this. They know that you're not shooting from the point. So you have to start making it different to be able to get goals, in my opinion. Now, I'm not an NHL player or an NHL coach, but for crying out loud, if you have a power play that is mightily struggling but did well when certain people were on the unit, don't you want to go back to that and figure it out and build from there? And like I said, if you have to hurt some feelings, hurt some feelings. We're in the business of winning games and scoring goals on the power play. That's what you need to do. And for me, it might come down to firing Savard and getting a different voice in there to shake it up and change it up. I don't know if Berube brought Savard in or if he was just an MLSE hire, but right now he's not working. He's not working out. Not as well as Lane Lambert, not as well as Craig Berube. So maybe getting a different voice in there to shake up that power play and get it going could be the thing too. Or like I said, simply just augment your units and make it different. So that way you can start giving teams different fits and different looks and different plans that they have to deal with. And maybe you start banging a few more goals. But we will see some lineup changes. There has to be some lineup changes. And I'm not talking about just nibbling around the edges and flipping guys in and out. I want to see Fraser Minton back up with this team. I think he can really add an impact to this squad. I also cannot wait for Mr. Jake McCabe to be back in the lineup. He's a linchpin. He's a serious player for this team, and if the Leafs are going out to acquire someone, not to say Seattle fans, I want to see you lose your playoff hopes, but I hope you guys drop like a rock in the deep, deep sea that the Kraken play in, because I want to get Yanni Gourde on this Maple Leaf squad. I think he'd look great. Leafs Nation, we got a week ahead too. We got 3 games, Dallas, New Jersey, and Montreal. So let's do the week ahead. What do we think for the Toronto Maple Leafs this week? I'm looking at a 2-0-1 record. I think that Nick Robertson has a show out game against the Dallas Stars, and we pick up a victory there. The New Jersey Devils, I think Keefe will have them ready to play us, and I do believe that that will be an OT loss for the Toronto Maple Leafs. I do think it'll be a hard-fought game for both teams. Obviously, the Leafs wanting to beat Keefe wanting to beat the Leafs, but I do see it as an OTL loss. And then Saturday night, hockey night in Canada, the Montreal Canadiens. I think the Leafs throw a little cold water on those hot Montreal Canadiens who've played really well, above expectations for what I had for them this season. They had themselves into a playoff spot. It is a log jam for the wild card in the bottom of the Atlantic Division as well. So, hey, if Toronto can add a little bit of doubt or douse the flame that burns for the Montreal Canadiens on Saturday night, pick up that victory, I'm all for it. I think it's going to be a great game. And then this week we talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly for the Maple Leafs. I mean, the good is Nick Robertson, in my opinion, battling, trying to show that he belongs, really wants to be in this lineup. Guys like McMahon, the players that you're not paying the top dollar, but you need to get the most out of, are trying to bring it. Pacioretty, I wanted more out of on Saturday night, but he's a guy who's also bringing it. Wasn't in the lineup in Carolina, but I really want to see guys bring it. For me as well, I want to see Fraser Minton back up. I want to see Benoit getting his reps. I want to see these guys do well. So for me, it's the good, cheap contract players picking up their socks and getting things done. I see you, Matty Nyes. Big extension, I think, coming his way. The bad for me, the bad is just being a step off the past couple of games, not being ready, not being prepared, having issues keeping the momentum going like they did in Carolina, and just really digging in and showing why you are one of the top teams in the Eastern Conference. Heck, one of the top 10 teams in the NHL. Why these past 2 games they couldn't get that going is beyond me. But Berube's message is not going to fall on deaf ears. So for me, the bad is a full 60 and the ugly is the power play. We've already talked about it ad nauseum, whether you listen to me talk about it here or on the Locked On Leafs podcast that will be dropping for tomorrow. The power play is just dismal. This needs to be a strength for the Maple Leafs, especially with the offensive firepower they have, and it's just been downright ugly. Not something fun to watch. So let's put a bow on it. First one of 25, a quick 20-minute little pod, just getting into the minutia of the things that happened the past couple of games, talking about the lineup and some players. And may I throw my hat in the ring and talk about Matthews for one quick second, folks. Matthews, to me, if you're not fully healthy, I'm debating if he's in the Dallas game, but if he's not fully healthy, don't have him playing games. Have him resting. Have him get healthy. Don't let him go to the Four Nations. I know the NHL wants him there. I know the Leafs want him there. I know fans want to see him there, especially American fans. But if he's not healthy, there's one team, and that is the Toronto Maple Leafs, that should matter for Austin Matthews, that should matter for the Maple Leafs to go further into the playoffs, is having a healthy Austin Matthews. So if he's even 70%, I don't want him at the Four Nations. And if he's trying to convince us that he's 100%, Saturday night's game left a lot to be desired in the fact that Austin Matthews is 100% healthy. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you always for jumping on, watching. We got 67 strong in the live here. It's Boxing Rock Brewing Co.'s Puck Off Lagerdale. It's the big beer for the big podcast. I want to thank them for always riding with Offside for the past few years. The Hockey Podcast Network, and of course, DraftKings. Go place your bet with them. They always have great promos going on. Use the code THPN to get yourself in and locked in for some bets. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining me. First pod, like I said, small one, 20 minutes. But hey, it's good to be back. Good to be talking hockey. We'll see you next Sunday night for the Leafs Weekender yet again. But you know what it is around here. This is Offside Hockey Talk, where the Maple Leafs and hockey come to talk.